Hey, thanks for joining me here on this beautiful Monday morning, September 9th. We are heading into fall. For many of us, we are still basically in summer. It is still sweltering here in the southeastern US as I speak. It's usually, we don't get a break really, as I've probably said many times here before, probably not until like the middle of October from this crazy heat. And it's been one crazy summer. Today is also known as California Admission Day. It was the day that California was admitted into the Union as a state. I'm not even sure what year that is, but I know that that's I don't know why I remember this junk. Who knows? Also, Emergency Services Day. So, little tidbit there. I always try to get some kind of little tidbit in there that has nothing to do with what I'm going to be talking about on this podcast today. Michael McDermott. He is my guest this morning. If you're listening in the morning or any other time here, he is a wonderful musician who has been on the music scene for probably well over 30 years now. And is out with a great new release. We really get into that. Actually, what he did was he released two albums at once, and we get into that. He just had a plethora of material, and we get into the nitty gritty. One's more of an acoustic release, and the other one is more electrified. So it's like kind of like Dylan, acoustic versus electric, that kind of thing. So a little bit of inspiration from that, but also reminded me of when Bruce Springsteen released two albums at once in the early 90s. It was a different kind of Bruce at that time. But this is a great release, and he has so many good songs on there. We get into the nitty gritty on it. And the great notable thing about Michael McDermott is that the writer Stephen King had actually, well, his sons got him to discover Michael's music. So enjoy this. This is a really cool story about how a wonderful American writer just was able to really get into this music. And from what I understand, I believe Stephen King is still a big fan. It's a story that kind of goes back a bit now, but you'll have to listen to our discussion as we get into it. So see you on the other end of this.
Last night was just my daughter's first day of high school was yesterday, and then I had to go to a movie premiere, and it was just and then I had to perform at the thing. So anyway, it's just been crazy. And
That's
then today the single
exhausting.
came out, so that's what I've been doing. So anyway, I'm so sorry. It's not unforgivable.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I have some time this month, so this is
All right,
really,
good, good.
really, really cool. Excellent. Yeah, I'm so glad to read about you and to see the volume of work that you have done. It's been decades. So you've been really into this. Probably been since you were a kid. So how
I
did
was
you
a
get
kid.
started? Yeah.
Yeah. So I Yeah, so I mean, it all started. I got signed really early. I was very lucky, and it just kind of, it was a fluke, really. It was the end of the music industry days, I think. I was
Yeah.
kind of the last gasp, and where there was money and there was, people were, there were gatekeepers, and when people say, well, you were in back in the golden age, like what's the best thing about making music now? And I said, that anyone can make a record. And they say, what's the worst thing about making music now? Is anyone can make a record. So I mean, there was quality control. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say that, but there was a lot of crap, obviously. But there was a guy at the gate that said, like, well, keep working, or whatever. But now it's just, it's, as it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And so anyway, so I got signed really early, and I was 21, 22 maybe. And so it started, and that's, and there was a lot of hype about my first record and I was on MTV Buzzbin when they were playing music still, and
Yeah.
New York Times and Rolling Stone and all the talk, so it was amazing. And then that record didn't really take off like the way everybody thought. And then it was like it was over for me. And I was 22, and that was a very weird play, or 23 maybe by then. But yeah, it was kind of over. And then so since then, since 92, it's been like the long road back, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I heard that so much about artists. Some of our biggest legacy artists these days, like record company was ready to drop me and I had to come out with this. It's like
Yeah,
Really, it's hard to believe. Even Springsteen, I'll keep bringing up Springsteen because of what you're doing now kind of reminds me of what he did in 92.
right.
But yeah, it's really meant they're gonna drop Springsteen. These guys, if they were starting out now, I don't think they'd have a chance.
Yeah, no, Bruce was on, yeah, Howard Stern saying like, oh man, he would hate to start now. And yeah, and even when people ask me like, what do you think oh dude, I have no idea. I have no idea what you should do. Because I don't know what to do. And and then when and there were also gatekeepers on the publicity front, and you must know this too, but like now anybody is when I've asked and Mike, in 2016 we were working together, and it was the week a record was coming out, and I said, "So what's going on with the PR?" And he said, "Man, that's crickets," And I said, "Dude, I said, so I said, give me your list." And I said, I'm going to write these people because I know half of them from back in the day anyway. And so I wrote everybody saying, "Listen, I'm not entitled to anything, but I just want to let you know, I'm kind of back and I have this record out there." And so many people wrote saying, "Michael, man, I didn't even get that email. I'll listen to it right away. You have no idea how much music I get across my desk every day, and it must be incredible, because everybody can make a record. So you're competing with everybody, not even just the Foo Fighters, but Frank Johnson, who's your mailman, who's also making a record. So like,
It's so true.
it's space on a desk that somebody's going, where's that McDermott record? I don't even see it. So that it's you're fighting here. Like, where's that? You know, you're fighting
Yeah.
people you can't even see.
It's so tough because it's like it's not even physical anymore. You're sending
Right, right,
MP3s and
like,
it's
right.
getting lost in the computers now. It's like it used to be, hey, make a tape. At least there's a physical thing that gets in the mail
You're
and
right.
a little
Yeah, it's
more.
just an email. It's like a bold thing, and that you click on it and forget that it's there. Yeah, and our little human brains aren't process, evolved for this kind of massive amount of information anymore. So it's nobody's fault. It's just it's the reality of it.
Yeah. So picking up in the 90s and how you got through this, what were you doing in all those years is
So a lot of drinking,
yeah.
a lot of drinking, because
That's what, yeah, right. Songwriting seems to lead to that. That's probably the one of the number one causes of
yeah, well, failure does,
yeah, well that too.
and couple those together, and it's an interesting journey. So but anyway, and I was half kidding, but then I got signed to another label. I was on EMI then, and then SBK, and I was like the Elizabeth Taylor of record companies. I was married, divorced, married, divorced, married, because I think everybody saw like this shiny new penny and said, "Why isn't this guy a star?" And then you make a record that you think is great, and then you put it out, and nothing
Yeah.
happens. And then some
Yeah.
people, "Oh, Michael, we love you," but you know. So anyway, so that was kind of a rinse and repeat for me for a lot of years, really, into the 2000s. So it was 10 long years. I mean, even longer than that, really, but and really since I've been just doing independent records, and there was a label would pop up and you'd do one there, and now I don't even know what the point of labels are really. So I don't I have a couple in Europe, but that's just because it's shipping and all that stuff. But yeah, so since then, really, I've just been doing DIYing it, and and there's every time you think you're about to ready to fold your hand, there's something happens and keeps you going, and you look for clues and signs on the road to tell you that you're still going in the right direction. But it's just it's become a process now. And now once I recalibrated my levels of expectations, my life became better, because I think I was caught up in that. Being 22, you're the next Dylan. You're they're putting tons of money into you, and have all this quick notoriety, and then when it's gone, I was chasing that dragon for a long time. And so since then, it's just and as I've gotten older, I've just I love the process of it now, and I don't even think about really what's going to be on the other side of this, or what's going to happen with this. Today's a single. I'm putting out a single today, and I was just telling my wife before I was notified by Mike that I missed a meeting with you. Uh, I was like, yeah, it's just you put it out there, and I hope people like it. You know,
Yeah, yeah. That's how it is with my
yeah,
episodes here. It's like it goes out into the ether and you just hope, hey, somebody from Ireland just stumbled on my
right,
talking and
right.
maybe they'll, look
And,
you up.
and
Say,
that's
hey,
cool to
yeah,
me. Like Dublin, Ireland played a song the other night. That's awesome.
yeah,
Like before I'd be like, why aren't they playing it in Belfast?
yeah,
What's wrong with Cork City? Why aren't they playing it? Who's not getting the record? And I'd get in this fucking,
yeah,
spin
yeah.
cycle.
Yeah,
So
you
now
can get
it's
too
like,
into that looking at the numbers.
right. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, little victories. Great. Little magic moments.
Yeah, it's just so much different. You used to be, you'd have your Clive Davises, they discover
Yeah.
you, and it was just so much easier in one sense. But, the recording process, and you could talk about that too, as how to put it together. There's a lot of ease, but the expectations are higher because you can get your hands on so many different tools now.
Yeah, yeah, no, you could do everything here. And but speaking of the labels, back in all this time where I thought I was just, flailing and nothing was happening, and I was, unaware. I had a memoir come out 2 years ago, but I wrote about this in it. But I got some tour to, my manager said, "Do you want to go on open up for a tour in Italy?" And I said, "Oh man, that'd be great. No
Mm.
money, like $50 a night." Yeah, you won't break even. But I'm like, Italy though, that sounds awesome. Like, well, how would I get? Okay, well, you can go with the band, the headlining band. Okay, great. So anyway, I go over there, and like I didn't really have much information. So I got to Milan, and then I got a hotel. It was raining, and I went to, it was late, or I went to England first. Anyway, I got to the hotel. My credit card didn't, it maxed out or something. So
Oh,
I,
jeez.
I had to call my parents. So they had to put their credit card down. It was raining. I didn't know where I was going. I knew I had a gig the next day, and I didn't know exactly where, but I knew the town. And so I got a cab to town, and I figured I'd wait in city center for somebody to reach out, or wait till I got more information. And yeah, my manager just didn't know much of anything because the promoter didn't send him the itinerary or whatever. So anyway, I started drinking during the day in city center, and at some point I was making calls back home, and you still didn't really have any information, but I was in the right town, and I saw people lining up in near like a theater. And so I, was having a smoke or whatever. So I walked over, and as I walked by the steps, there were all these people like kind of milling about, and this kid was writing on a poster board a song lyric of mine, and I didn't know, and I just kind of was walking by, and I went, "Hey man, I wrote that." And then he looked up, and he started crying, and then people like Michael, and they came over, and they were all lined up to see me. I was just the opening act, and they were like, they had my first album on vinyl, which I'd never seen. I didn't, it was never here in the
Oh,
States.
cool.
And yeah, it was
Nice,
amazing. I was
nice.
signing stuff, and I was hugging people, and we were
Yeah.
crying together. I was half drunk, uh, but it was so emotional, and I was like, wait, I'm so confused. Like, so the first record was like a thing over there. And they said, "What took so long for you to come here?" And I said, "I had no idea. I didn't even know the record was out here. I had
Nice,
no idea."
nice.
And so anyway, I played that night, and then after the headliner finished and they were packed up, I stayed and played in the theater to all the people that had, came to see me, unplugged. And then so yeah, so then the promoter was like, "We got to get you back, immediately." So I finished this tour, and I came back like a month later because I had nothing going on anywhere here, and so I went back, and then I've been touring there since, and I
Oh,
just
cool.
won the Tenko Award, which is the highest. It's a national honor for songwriting over there. Like Tom Waits, Jackson Brown, Leonard Cohen, Nick Cave, Patti Smith. I mean, all the greats have it, and my name's, and that like saved me. That was one of those road signs that I saw that I thought, don't kill yourself yet. Like it's, you're something's happening. And so, there were always those little nuggets of crumbs from the table that I was able to go to build on. And so yeah, it was amazing. It was a miracle, really. It was a lifesaver. And it was before I met my wife and before I got sober. And it was like a life preserver. It was a life ring that was thrown to me.
How long have you been sober now?
10 years. Yeah, 10 years in
Excellent.
January.
Congrats.
Yeah.
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 It's the best thing. It really is. Because
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories and
Yeah.
people struggling, and it could really just do you in and
Yeah.
do so
Well,
much damage.
yeah, I was a drug addict, and in 2004 I was facing 3 to 6 years in prison, and the wheels had come off the cart by that point. And but then like Italy happens, and
Yeah, yeah. In the unexpected places, whoever would have thought?
yeah. No, I didn't know, that it was just that it was that they and then knew all the lyrics, and like it was just so weird to me. It was beautiful, and I ended up getting married in Italy too. So because it just felt like that was a place
Oh.
of in my second life, kind of.
Yeah, that's Italy's just great for that. I
Yeah,
remember being at the Colosseum and I thought I saw more than one or two proposals there. It's a great place to do that.
I bet my manager on that trip when I finally told him what happened. I was like, dude, you wouldn't believe this. And he told me he's passed away. He died in an accident, actually. But
Ooh.
uh, he told me, he's like, and I said, yeah, I think I might go to the Coliseum and see it. He's like, you know what they used to do? There used to be slaves there, and they would fight to get their free. And I said, dude, I've seen Gladiator. I don't know what like. It's not, don't act like you read some history book. I mean, so,
There's the whole history of it
I
like
know, I know,
that.
but it was so funny. Like, but he was like platitudinal about it, like he was like revealing something. Like, no way. Like, but it was like, yeah, dude. I mean, I think this was the same year Gladiator came out too. But anyway, Italy is amazing. Yeah, it's and didn't go this year, but and then when the award thing happened, I mean, that was just another dreamy moment. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Yeah,
Yeah. And you realize your worth and you're having that impact on an
yeah,
audience
yeah,
with your words and music. It's
yeah,
just it's incredible. So
yeah.
your process is you do it all, words and music. Nobody's like writing the lyrics for you. You're setting it to melodies. These are
Yeah.
your words.
No,
Um,
just me. Yeah. And yeah, it's just always been that way. I've co-written a couple of songs, but not many. Yeah.
yeah, some people just like that solo effort and not
Yeah.
having to deal with, a partner or something like that. Of course, your output could be three times as much if somebody's doing half, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
I was living in Nashville for a little bit, and everybody co-writes down there. I
yeah.
just didn't, like you'd go to lunch, and the guy would hand you the menu, and then he's asking you to co-write, and you're like, dude, can I just order a cheeseburger? You know, like I don't know who you are. Like it's a very intimate thing for me, and like it'd be I don't know, I don't know what you would bring to the table, but down there, it's just that's the game.
Yeah, a really good supportive community. I've had many people on from Nashville, and that's what they do. It's just like everybody's just out for each other. It's just not this horrifying competitive thing you see in LA, New York, or maybe even possibly
Yeah,
Chicago. So
yeah,
that's really good that people do support each other. So when you started getting into music, who were your first like influences growing up? And you were always in Chicago?
yeah. Grew up in Chicago. It was Dylan. I mean, it was I went. The Stones were my first thing. The first
Oh,
thing in eighth grade with Tattoo You or
yeah,
whatever.
that was
And
my moment was Some Girls. I didn't
Some
know
Girl,
much about them before that. And I was like,
it's such a great record.
do they
Yeah,
mean Mick Jagger? I've never heard of a Mick. So that was like my first like,
Mick
what?
Jagger. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Finally saw them on this last tour.
Oh,
Finally, I
really? That was it?
put it
Wow.
off since Tattoo You. Yeah.
I heard it was a great tour too. This new one, but yeah. So I saw them in eighth grade, and that's when everything changed. I thought, wow, I saw the magic in it, and but yes, but then I got it very folky. I went Odetta and Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and all that stuff, and and then kind of then moved into the more current stuff with Springsteen and Van Morrison and U2 and just than the basic rock fare,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think at heart I was always like a folkie. And then before I got signed, I was playing in an Irish folk club where, I was just a side man, and I was, you'd have to learn all these songs that were so old. No one, they were traditional songs. Nobody knew who wrote them. And, that was a really great school for me to, the real honesty of those things. And instead of singing Living on a Prayer or whatever, you're doing Fields of Athenry, or, well, they know who wrote that, but Waltzing Matilda or whatever. Those songs that are so old, and old, rebel songs. And it was great. It was a great learning ground for me.
Yeah, that was cool that Springsteen delved into some of that Irish influence too. I was like, this is the guy who's not afraid to take chances. I like
Yeah,
it's inspirational to see that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, completely. So now you have these great new releases out, two albums out at once. It reminds me of Springsteen back in '92 with Human Touch and Lucky Town. With
Right,
you, it's something much more acoustic, Lighthouse on the Shore, and then East Jesus.
right.
Why now? Why two albums at once? Yeah,
Well,
did you
just
have a
because
lot of yeah?
yeah, I think it was just, like, I want to, instead of doing, two rock songs, a ballad, three rock songs, a ballad, two rock songs, a ballad, that's just, it just got so formulaic. I just kind of felt like I'd like to lean into just a really quiet record. However, if you were just going to put that out, like I think it would just be a sleepy album, like if it was all just ballads. That would be a long hour, So I wanted to have at least a companion piece to be like, listen, if you get bored after three songs, put the other album on, or flip down the playlist, because I do have those two sides of me, like I don't know if I'd ever do, and I tour by myself, but the show's fairly rocking, so I don't know if I could do just 90 minutes of ballads would be tough from anybody.
Yeah, that's asking a lot of the audience
It
to sit
is,
there
it is.
and
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
attention.
And what I
Even
do
yeah,
isn't easy, and I know that. So it's just
yeah.
so I just thought, and the problem with, I think Bruce did it. I think there were two separate albums. Were they the same day, or was it a week apart or something?
Probably like a week apart. I remember it was like
Yeah.
late '92 because I saw him on that tour as well. He didn't
Oh
have the E
yeah.
Street Band.
Yeah. And so yeah, so this well, for practical purposes, just, and nobody's even buying records anymore, really. I
Yeah.
mean, so you could put, four song, what we did, we actually sell these USBs. I wish I had one around here, but I don't. But they're in a cassette box, and people
Oh,
at the
cool.
merch table go, "Oh, cool, you still have cassettes?" And it's like, no, 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 check it out. Like, and you open it up, but it's a USB drive that you stick into your computer or your car, and you could put four albums, music videos, the making of the album, which is great. I mean, that I don't know if that's where it's going with merch, but it should, because it's just more practical. And but yeah, so I just compiled the two records as one and flipped the covers so they're, like those books that you'd read as a kid, and you get
Yeah.
halfway through, and then oh, that's the end of that story.
Yeah, I like this artwork. Did you do all that yourself or you
Yeah,
had some
yeah,
graphic
I had an
artist?
art director. Yeah, I do it. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that grungy look. It's just
yeah,
you see these two records, yeah, very similar like yeah, in their design.
yeah. Yeah, and and some people are going in twins, but they're not twins. But I mean, they're not radically different. I know that, but it's just, I think, as a in my head, they seem fairly different.
Yeah, and you got somebody very close with you, does vocals and fiddle, your wife, who
Yeah,
is an
Heather. Yeah,
artist in her
yes.
own right.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, she's done, and the studio's in where I am here is, I work away every day, and then I just am able to call her in, and she's just amazing. So, we do whatever we can. Then, like, I know you had Will Kimbrough on. Will plays on all my stuff. So then I'll, send Will a batch of songs, and then he'll piecemeal it back, and John Dederick, and then my guys here, then where it's mixed, at Transient Sound, he's my drummer, so he plays, and then the band plays. So it's really all remotely. The rhythm section and guitar player will do it here. Will's remote, John Dederick's remote, I'm remote, but we put it all together that way.
Yeah, it adds a really nice touch having Heather Lynn Horton doing the
Yeah,
fiddle. Then you have Katie Bass on cello, which
yeah.
you're not hearing much of those instruments these days in a lot of mixes. So
No,
it's really nice.
yeah, she's great. She's in Denver, so it'd be great to do everybody in a room again, but it's not practical for me.
Yeah, I'm seeing that during the pandemic, a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of artists have been doing, hey, here's the MP3 of this, and you're mixing it. Everybody's in different locations. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a great thing, but then that human,
Sure.
closeness is not there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's weird. So 2 records ago, we did a few songs all together. It was fun, and it's fast. I mean, it's just so much faster, which is nice, as opposed to because sometimes you spend too much time. You get in your own way. Like, ooh, let's try a pump organ. Like, doesn't need a pump organ, but you're bored. And like, like what else can we put on this? Alien pipes. Oh yeah. So yeah, so it's better sometimes to work fast.
I feel like a little bit of that Gen X feel with a lot of this stuff too. I feel like there's a little Bon Jovi vibe going on around there, at least vocally. It kind of reminds me
Oh,
of that.
oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
kind of do feel that. I don't know
yeah.
why Bon Jovi's on the mind, but yeah, I
I don't
probably just
know.
heard an interview.
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was never a fan of his, but yeah.
That's funny. I just think vocal stylings. I was like, I don't no, not in the construction of the songs or the writing. Yeah, Bon Jovi's that's
Yeah,
a totally Jersey thing.
yeah,
Very, very into it.
yeah.
Yeah, great title track, Lighthouse. It's really, really just a beautifully interwoven song. I'm
Oh, the song? Oh, thanks. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you record in Chicago, you got your own studio.
Yeah, in this room. This is it. Yeah.
That's
This
it,
is
all
great.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just a attachment to the house that we live in. Yeah.
And is that what's called Pauper Sky?
Yeah. But yeah, that was an old song that is like it became a fan board or something, and then it just kind of took on a life of its own. Yeah.
Very, very, yeah. It just really it's just amazing how you were able to just be able to put out two albums at once like this and
Yeah.
them radically different. I'm really enjoying East Jesus. It's just where does the title track come from on that one?
Well, that was it was I think it came from a night that my daughter had some friends over, I remember, and it's a bunch of 14-year-old girls, and I didn't know where to go. There was a lot of girls laughing and screaming and all that. So I came out here, and I remember it's just like just got incredibly like I was just hit. It was got very emotional, a crippling kind of emotion, and it was like I don't know if it was a sense of relief or dread or what. And then as I, was here and having fits, like I remember thinking like, with my addiction and sobriety, and I was thinking, it's like you know, w- it is a one day at a time program, but you put on these a facade of things, that everything's good, everything, how you doing, man? Yeah, good. But I as I was debilitatingly weeping, I thought the greatest mistake a man can make is thinking the war is over. Like it'll never be really over for me. um this I had painted myself into a corner in my life that the the struggle of my addiction will never really be, I'll never be free from it. It's because it's never goes away. So that was what it was. So as I was there and I thought that in my head, like, the greatest mistake a man can make is thinking the war is over. Because it's not, because I think I was really happy that she was happy, my daughter, and then I came out here and then had this terrible breakdown. And I thought, you know, don't let your guard down, man. Like so the sentries always have to be on guard. And so anyway, so that was as I was, you know, debilitatingly crippled. I remember going, oh, I gotta write that down. And so, I knew it was a good line and I needed to get back to it. So I did eventually, and that song came pretty fast, really. It was just just like, the East Jesus within everybody, the thing we push stuff down into and we hide stuff, and the closet under the stairs, like up here, like all quiet on the Western Front, like everything's good. But deep down it was things, I came unraveled in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines, I'm a clown with a five-leaf clover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very insightful. I really like, yeah, I haven't heard anything like this before. It's
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And carries that theme throughout the entire project. And I just now viewed Berlin at Night,
Oh
a new
yeah.
video that's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of why I was so distracted today. Yeah, so putting that out, and yeah, that's, another one of those songs, that I played Berlin kind of regularly, but yeah, it's an amazing city. I mean, obviously with all its
Uh,
history, and it still doesn't feel that far away, it's World War II, what, I don't know, what is it now? 80 years ago, but
yeah,
um
yeah.
but it's still kind of, there's a lot of, it doesn't feel like, maybe it's just my perception of the city, but it feels like they're very aware of what happened, because it was such a traumatic event for so many, that I think it's still palpable on the streets, but I love Berlin. It's great. But anyway, so it was just some particular night after a not so great gig that we I was driving, and I just had that line that usually the city always seemed very bright to me, and then this one particular day I was like, who turned the lights off? And so yeah, and I just thought about that in terms of, relationships, or life in general, how it could be, beautiful and mysterious and traumatic, and we carry these things around, and even though they're a long time ago, they somehow wounds still can seem very fresh, and so that's just kind of what that song is.
Yeah, I think over in that part of the world, they remember their history a whole lot
Yeah.
more. Here in the States, we tear things
Yeah.
down, especially I'm here in the Atlanta area. We just tear
All
things
right.
down.
Yeah, they teach real history over there, like, it'd be like if, we don't want to talk about slavery, but can you imagine if suddenly there was a news story like in Germany, they're not discussing the World War II anymore? Like, we'd be like, what is that? That's insanity. Like burying your history. But, that's what many in this country are trying to do.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time, and especially just in our the fabric of our culture. It's like we're constantly tearing things down, putting new things up, forgetting, all the ugliness.
Yeah.
It's sure there's a lot of beauty, but we don't talk about the
Yeah.
imperfections.
Yeah, no, he who does not remember the past is condemned to repeat it, So I mean, if you don't want to remember your past, where exactly are you headed?
Yeah. You get a little bit more melodic here on East Jesus with Head Full of Rain. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a nice little change of pace.
Yeah. It's yeah, that song is it's so, I'm not a very good flyer. And so yeah, so like, I always have seemingly terrible flying experiences. But I was, like, there's that thing where, like, you're going to the airport, it looks like the apocalypse, and like the wind, and the rain and the sirens, and and there's a funny story about Mike Scott of the Waterboys, but anyway, I won't tell that. Um but yeah, so like, but there's that moment, the plane's taking off, you're going through the clouds, the plane's shaking, you hear the overheads, you feel the stress of the metal, and you're bouncing around, going left and right and up and down. And then there's that moment where my favorite moment of flying is you hit that pocket where you're just up above the clouds, and it's blue sky, and it's beautiful.
Mhm,
And it
mhm.
almost sounds like the plane turned off. It's like, it's quiet,
Yeah.
and all of it's, like, and for that moment, it feels so beautiful to me. And and during the course of a lot of flights, sometimes I'm flying almost every day, and uh I just thought, like, wow, it was such a shit storm down there, and it's beautiful up here. And then anyway, so then I just started singing "It's Sunny Every Day," like, and I think about that. I'm a guy who does TM, and in the meditative world, in TM, they liken your brain to being like the surface of the ocean. where, there's always these swells and sometimes
Mm.
it's calm, but, there's still ripples. But down below, it's very, it's dark and it's quiet, it's still, and it's peaceful. And that's what TM tries to get you to do, is to not how to navigate. Some meditations is how to navigate the surface, like you balance and this and that. But TM is about forgetting the surface and getting to a deeper, quiet place. So, that's how I feel about, like that our brains are, that's sunny every day. It's like your brain is always has access to being peaceful and only worrying about the things you can control. Don't worry about the monkey brain, all that noise and all the swells and the rogue waves that we deal with and we engage in. We try to like, woo, we're gonna ride that wave and we're gonna follow that terrible idea, but it's about forgetting that, and that it's you have access to the blue sky always. It's just sometimes you just got to know how to access it.
Yeah, meditation has got to really help with your writing, and you just got such a great creative output here. Do you find that inspirational?
I don't know. It helps my life. I don't know if it specifically. I mean, I would guess it would create some clarity, like and meditation. And when I try to get people when they are curious about it, it's not like it's not a quick fix. It's not like you go, oh, I feel great. Like it's a cumulative thing where I think I know if I'm on the road or getting up early and have to leave and I don't do it for a day or 2 days. Man, I know there's, I'm so used to doing it every morning that then even 2 days will pass and you're just busy with your life. And then I'll just go, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, and then I'll just be like,
Yeah.
I haven't meditated. It's been 2 days. Oh my God.
Mm.
No wonder. And then it's just like, that there's a wearing a wool suit with a bare chest or whatever. Like, you just feel like a wool sweater going, God, I feel uncomfortable in this world. And that's what it is. So it's just for me, I don't know if I'm sure it manifests itself within creativity, but it's just to calm the monkey brain, because man, it's in the song on the record is the circus, the circus in your head. It's that's what it helped combat with. And I had a friend of mine also say, like, how much does it help you when people, because they want answers, and when people who are struggling with addiction call me and how does it work? They always want to know how it works and what do I have to do? And it's always this negotiation, you know. So and I it works if you work it, and so I'll try to set appointments up or try to find them a meeting or find a person that will take them or if they're in a different city or whatever. But they always want to know what, like how much work is it going to be,
Mm.
and so, if that's your angle, it's never going to work anyway. If you're looking for a reciprocal thing, immediate gratification, meditation's not for you, but it's cumulative for
Yeah.
sure. Same with, and you don't go to one AA meeting and feel like you're healed. There's a thing called pink cloud in early recovery where it does happen. And, like if you're a week sober or whatever, you go, man, I fucking got this, man. I'm feeling good. I don't ever want cocaine again.
Mm.
And you feel that. You do believe it. But it's called pink cloud. It's just this illusion that your brain kind of goes, yeah, this is fine. You don't have a problem. So yeah, so that's how that is sneaky. But anyways, meditation, yeah, it's a thing I rely on. I have to do. And a friend of mine said, "Listen, man, I don't know how much it helps. If it helps you 4%, if your brain works 4% better, wouldn't you take that?"
Yeah.
So there's nobody that goes, nah, four is not worth my 20 minutes. Like, no, everybody's going to take the 4% or 2%, 1%. You want to work a little better? Yes. So
Mm. Yeah. It's so true. When you first were getting sober, you did a lot of like AA and all these other
I
help
did. Yeah.
groups?
Yeah. I've been trying to get sober for 20 years. I mean, Stephen King had written me this beautiful letter about getting sober that I used to carry around with me. I'd take it to crack houses and read it. Hey, Stephen King wrote me this letter, and it's all about recovery, and it was
Mm.
beautiful, brilliant. And and I used it really just as a like a currency to go to tell my other douchebag friends, like, look, somebody famous likes me or whatever.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and I tried I mean, God, I'd go little periods of sobriety or, like I won't freebase today. Uh,
Gosh.
but when I
Oh
finally
my.
got sober for real, uh, for
Mm.
longer than I think, I don't know, I think I went a month or maybe 2 months before, but I always do almost every year. I'd say I won't drink from New Year's till Patty's Day, and it would never I'd never make it. But anyways, when I was finally sober for a bit and I had a grip on it, I remember finding the King letter and I read it again and I was like, man, like all the answers were right here the whole time. But then I looked at the letter where he had typed at the top right corner and I realized he wrote it 17 years ago. So it
Mm.
took me 17 years. It'd be like looking for your house keys for 17 years and you realize they were in your back pocket the whole time.
True. Happens so much in life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like right there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Like,
Wow. Yeah, Stephen King got a hold of your music through one of your sons, and it's an interesting story how that happened.
well,
And
yeah, one of his son. Yeah. I think his oldest son,
yeah, it
Joe,
was his son. Yeah, that's
and
right.
then
And yeah,
he gave it to Owen, and then Owen gave it to Steve on his birthday or something, or his Father's Day or something like that. Yeah.
he was 620 West, and
Yeah.
that's got to feel great though. Yeah, somebody stumbled upon you, and you have
Yeah.
this amazing writer who just
Yeah.
like loves your music.
Yeah. That was amazing. And we became friends and, he came down to Memphis and where we were doing the third record and yeah and I don't talk to Steve that much anymore. I talk to Owen more now, who's his youngest. But yeah, I mean he's amazing um, but yeah, and I think even after he wrote me that letter, he relapsed. Steve did and
Mm.
yeah, because he was in that car accident, I think, and
Yeah, looking to dull the pain.
yeah. So, but anyway, he's doing good, I'm sure now. But
Good, good. Yeah, and very inspirational. You talk about incredible creative outputs. It's basically you would have time to see anybody. He's always
yeah,
writing.
no, he does. I mean, he does. He would, he would, and it's funny talking to somebody that great, he would, we talk about, our doubts, and he's still, he's still always question whether what you're doing is any good. But yeah, he was like working like, I think his habit is like 6 hours a day.
Yeah,
That's a long time. Yeah. I
that's a
mean,
long time to be sitting there
it is.
alone
No,
with a
but
computer.
I was at the mall the other day and I walked into this bookstore. Bookstores and malls aren't very good, but I looked and I saw the King section and he had two hardcovers and I figured those were the most recent. So I looked at this one and 2024, sure enough, and I put it and I grabbed the other one. It was 2023. But I mean, he wrote two books like in the last 2 years, that, probably 900 pages, you know. So like, yeah, the guy's amazing. He's a machine.
Yeah, I think that's got to be very inspirational to see,
Yeah.
that kind of work being done. He's just,
Yeah.
incredible. He's been doing it for
I
more than
know.
half a century.
I know. I just, but I mean, it is inspiring, like so I do the everyday thing too. But if I do an hour, I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back.
Yeah, it's gotta be
Yeah.
extreme torture. I think much harder with songwriting. I mean, obviously, it's that
Yeah.
other half where you're,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't, what he does is, I mean, it's just never, yeah, it's a well that never seems to run dry. And so as you get older and as you write as many songs as I do, it is trickier. And I notice the process is different of going, yeah, I kind of covered this, like, yeah, this seems like kind of that reworking of that song from 2002, like whatever. So it's, and I remember originally there was somebody compared like rock and roll to like a canvas that in 1958, man, that was a big blank white canvas. And now it's a
Yeah.
Pollock that there's no canvas left. It's basically just kind of putting something on something. Like you're kind of, I'll take this corner, even though it's already been painted on. I'll try to get a little something in here.
Yeah, it is like a Pollock painting. Just throw it all out up there.
Just yeah,
It's
it's
just
all just where do I go? It's all kind of here. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Stephen King reminds me of a guy who played some music with him named Dave Barry,
sure,
who
no,
I remember seeing him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opening concert. I was in Cleveland in 1995. That's where I grew up and I came
oh
back to
yeah,
visit. Yeah, and wow. Well, I mean, a messy show went on for like close to 8 hours. I mean, obviously
oh
these
my God,
people not very tight, but yeah, nice to see Johnny Cash, people like
oh wow,
that.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my gosh, it was just
So wait, was it
springs.
the writers band? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So there, yeah, that's what remind because Dave Barry was sitting near me, and so it all
Right,
reminded me of that.
right. Yeah, so Steve played on my third record. He was down in Memphis because he doesn't like to be home for Halloween because you could imagine how many nuts come up to his house. And
Oh, I
so
bet.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
especially on
he came down.
Halloween.
Yeah, so he came down and he played some guitar. It
Oh,
was
that's
fun.
cool. Yeah, isn't that funny? Like writers or actors want to become rock stars, and
Sure.
rock stars want to become writers or actors.
Grass is always greener. Yeah.
It's all the creative disciplines and
Right,
torturing
right.
yourself.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And you do have an ode to sobriety on your more acoustic release, Gonna Rise Up, another,
Yeah.
inspirational.
Yeah, that song was originally it was the song originally was like My Addiction. That's what it was kind of called. And it was just like one of those like litany of my addiction tells me secrets, my addiction, da 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 da, my addiction. Da. And and I thought, God, that'll be boring. For somebody
Yeah.
who, I mean, everybody's got an addiction. I mean, we could all, whether it's, social media or the phone or codependency or work or whatever. I mean, we're all on the spectrum of addiction, without a doubt. But yeah, I just thought, boy, that's a kind of a one-dimensional song. So I only used one My Addiction. There were like probably 70, and I used one. So that was that was pretty disciplined, I'd say. So yeah, I just wanted to make it more about, just the regular malaise of, self-doubt and fear and, so yeah, but I like that song. That was a late one. Yeah.
Yeah, addiction can apply not just to the drugs, and there are
Right.
people who are, gosh, social media or gaming. It's like
Gaming, yeah.
that's a rabbit hole that I don't think a lot of people
I
can get out of.
I don't know if you were like this, but yeah, I mean, there was in my young early 20s, there was gaming like, PlayStation 3 or whatever it was. I mean, it's, some buddies and a couple cases of beer and playing Madden football until 5 a.m. I mean, I remember that. But yeah, now it's a different thing, I think. I mean, it's just everything's got bigger talents to get their hooks in you because, that's what they want. They want your time. They want all of your attention. And
Hmm.
my wife and I just bore our daughter with it, but like, that's all they're coming for. They just want every bit of your attention. You
Yeah.
know,
She and
okay.
is your daughter getting into music? She's a senior now.
She is. So her first day of school was yesterday at Performance Arts High School. And
Ah.
yeah, so she's in musical theater is her jam, which is, I think, God's payback to me because I hate musicals. And subjected to Liza Minnelli almost all day long in the house. And Judy Garland and,
Oh
you know,
wow.
I know. And so anyway, uh, God's got a funny sense of humor. But yeah, so she's great. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough racket. And I know very little about musical theater, but you know, it
Yeah.
we'll see.
If you're gonna do it, it's Broadway or bust. You got to become
Yeah, no, I
married
know.
to it.
Yeah, so we've gone to quite a few Broadway shows, which is of course a fortune, but yeah, I'm getting more into it. It is exciting. I mean, the whole going to New York and to see a Broadway show is it's it's like its own like little rock concert, of our day, It's not quite as energetic, but some of them are, some shows are like we saw Six and it's about the six wives of Henry VIII or whatever, but Man, that was like a rock. The first 20 minutes of that, they had everybody on their feet and hands in the air. I was like, ah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it could surprise you when you very least expect that.
Yeah,
So,
totally. I did. Yeah.
wow, cool. Well, best wishes to her in her senior year
Thank you.
and
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
wherever she plans to go in
Yeah.
the future, probably NYU or something, something
I
up
don't
there.
know. I don't know how
All
that is.
those.
It's funny.
Yeah.
The headmaster of the school was talking about some of their alum, and he said, he was naming some people, Jake from State Farm or whatever, and then he was like, and another alum. Well, we don't mention him too much anymore, but Kanye. And he whispered, he was like, Kanye.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And don't look after that one, but yeah, it could be into so many different disciplines. You just have to
yeah,
keep your a wide
right.
mind open.
Well, she just got a part in a TV show with Forrest Whitaker.
Oh,
Yeah, called Emperor of Ocean Park, and she's got a small role. It was one episode, and yeah, so that was very exciting for her. I mean, she's got two agents, and I'm like, dude, you have two agents. You kidding me?
wow, good
Yeah,
start. Very good
yeah,
start. Well,
yeah,
these records, albums, they look
yeah.
fantastic. Get them
Thanks.
wherever you get music. It is releasing September 13th, both on
Right?
the same day. You could pre-order now.
Friday, Friday
Yeah.
the 13th.
Oh, Friday
I
the
was like,
13th.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. That
Could
doesn't
be a
matter.
great thing.
Yeah, right.
Uh, and we can get you your website. Is it your full name? There's a dash between your
Yeah,
first name.
michael-mcdermott.com. Yeah, and Insta and Facebook, I think, and I think
All
that's
those
it.
socials.
Yeah,
Your daughter doing TikTok and all that fun
she
stuff.
does TikTok. I do not. I signed up and I thought, and within 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, I can. I don't know. It's just too much.
You can give them like 20-second snippets.
Yeah,
That's really
I
pretty
did.
much it.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's like, it takes a lot of time to be like creating content like that. I'd rather just work on songs.
It's really maddening. Like somebody on TikTok just does something stupid that we do every single
Yeah,
day, and they're making a fortune off that. I don't know
I
how they're
know.
doing
Yeah.
that.
I don't know how there's a method to it, I think. I don't know. Or is it just total fluke? I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Just, if you're making the money, save it now.
Yeah.
It's everybody's 15 minutes do come up at
Yeah.
some point.
Right.
Very true. Well, thanks for joining me. I
Well,
really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Sorry about the mix up, and I appreciate your time so much.
Yes. Take
And
care. Have a good one. We'll see you on the road.
okay, thanks.
Take care. Have a
So
good one.
long.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Isn't that wild? Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back again probably in about a week after this one. If you look at my podcast list, I'm gonna probably release another one right after. I usually don't do week to week back to back episodes, but the way it turns out here in September 2024, it's gonna turn out that way. So stay tuned. I have a really good guest coming up on my next podcast episode. Take care.